So you asked, I listen, and then I do the research. Well, again, it's another follow up to, I guess, what happens next to Christopher Watts after the 19th, after he is finally sentenced for the crimes that he has agreed to plead guilty to. Now, I'm not going to pass judgment on if he did it or not. I know he killed Shanann. He originally admitted to that. Beyond that, did he do all the rest of it? That's not for me to decide. But here it is. What happens next? Well, between the date that he signed the plea agreement and maybe before then, leading up through this, but by the 19th, they will have what they call a pre-sentencing assessment will have been completed on him. And the pre-sentencing assessment goes over the following items in that. Does he have gang affiliation? Does he have affiliation with a hate group or group? Does he have a religion? What is his religious hatred tolerance level? What does he need for mental health? And what kind of programs does he need? As in, what level of incarceration? What kind of restrictions? Things like that. All those things are in the report, and it helps the Department of Justice, and especially the CDOC, the Colorado Department of Corrections, determine where to actually place him within. When it comes to Christopher Watts, there are only 5 places in the entire state of Colorado that he could conceivably be placed at. Now, the state of Colorado has agreements with several states, where they take in overflow from their state, and vice versa. The other states have agreements with Colorado where they take in their overflow. When it comes to Christopher Watts and his crime, now on that evaluation, it goes everywhere from a 5 to a 1. Christopher Watts is almost certainly going to be classified as a level 5, which is maximum security or supermax. They're going to put him in one of those two, and you can guarantee he's never ever going to see a level 1, which is basically parole, probation, or home monitoring. He'll never get to that level, even if he's found mentally insane and he did all this and was coerced into it, and he wins on appeal. He never ever will get to level 1. So some of the other questions that I got was, what is it like in prison? Well, I've never been there myself. I've never been incarcerated, but I did some research on this. There is the prison side of the story and what they say prison is like, and then there's the inmate side and what they say prison is like. So I am going to tell you what the middle ground is and what in between there. Overall, it's loud, constantly, 24 hours a day. Men who are locked away for 23 hours a day, because if he ends up in a solitary confinement area or a controlled area, some inmates are in their cells for 23 hours a day and they lose it mentally. They snap. So they may spend their entire nights screaming, banging on doors, anything, to get the attention of a guard or somebody, and they don't really need anything. They just want to talk to somebody or whatever, or they just, they've lost it. So it's loud, 24 hours a day. Most prisons have inadequate ventilation systems, so they smell of human bodies, just that many human bodies crammed into one centralized location. In the summertime, most prisons don't have adequate air conditioning. In the wintertime, they don't have adequate heating systems. And it's not unheard of for, during lockdown, when they, for security reasons, they will turn off the phones, AC, and everything else while they are on lockdown. That's not unheard of. It's not common, but it's not unheard of that it happens. So on a day-to-day schedule, it all depends on where he goes. I can't report on that part because it varies so widely from prison to prison. Um, but in a nutshell, he's going to be locked down. He will never, ever, and please stop asking me this, people. He will never end up in general population, even if he was convicted of just one of the many crimes that that he was facing. He will be in protective custody or some form of protected custody throughout his entire time. If they put him in general population, there are three things that they don't stand for. Anyone who hurts a child, anyone who molests a child, and anyone who actually kills a child, they will not tolerate that in general population, and they know it. They will be preyed on. Their lives are at risk. So they don't put them in general population. They have to segregate them away from the rest of the population. It's just a fact. So no, he's not going to get stabbed. Is he? Did he plead guilty to this so he to get it over with, so he can go to prison and kill himself? It could be. It wouldn't be unheard of for prison people who have been convicted of something like this. They heinously just they've done. They don't want to deal with it. The thought that's in their head anymore. When it comes to populations of 100,000 prisoners, these are the following states that have the highest suicide rates for inmates. Highest, number 1 to number 10. Number 1, highest suicide rates per 100,000 inmates, Rhode Island. Then Utah, Montana, Massachusetts, Alaska, New Hampshire, Hawaii, Idaho, South Dakota, Delaware, and then number 23 on the list is the state of Colorado. When it comes to the classification process, Colorado actually spends a lot of time and a lot of resources and money on making sure that they deal with the mental health of the actual inmate, and when they go to prison and while they're going through the process to be moved to prison, they want to make sure they don't hurt themselves, and they want to make damn sure they don't hurt somebody else, because if they hurt themselves or if they hurt somebody else, that costs the taxpayer more money. And Colorado is one of those forward-thinking states that understands if you just ignore that mental health of a prisoner who's on lockdown, 23 hours a day, or they're in controlled custody, that it's going to boil over. It's eventual. It's going to happen, and it's going to cost more money to ignore it in the long run than it is to deal with it. So they actually do spend a lot of time and money and effort and resources on making sure that the mental health of inmates is taken care of. Do they, walk them down the hallway holding their hands? No. They just don't place them in situations or in prisons where they know they're going to be, more agitated or whatever. Okay, so that out of the way. The next question that I got the most of is what is commissary like, and how does that work in the prison system versus the county jail? And I touched on what the commissary was like in the county jail system, but once he gets to prison, I checked all the different places that he could, and none of their commissary lists are exactly the same. Some offer one item, and others offer another item. But in general, he can order everything from like ding dongs, Twinkies, ho hos, honey buns, wham wham, zam zams, wham whams, or whatever, something like that. That's a slang term that they use in the system. But ramen, soups, summer sausages, little beanie weenies. But nothing comes in metal cans, so they can't turn into weapons. It all comes in little pouches and stuff. Hot pickles, stuff like that. But that's what they can order for food-wise. They can order sneakers, some clothing items, personal music players, televisions. Some places do allow that. Some places don't. Again, there is no. This is what the state allows in every single one of them. Basically, the food stays the same, but there are some, come and go, differences here, price differences as well. But that's what he can get from commissary. Now, Some of the next question that I got, the next largest amount of was, can you please explain some of the acronyms and initials that the media outlets have been talking about, and that the DA brought up in a couple of releases, I guess, press releases. Okay, these are the following that I was able to, after watching countless hours of news releases and going through and digging through what the media have been talking about, what these the most popular. So CSC is the Corrections Systems Capacity. That is again part of the classification process, pre-sentencing report. What does CI stand for? CI is Correctional Institute or institution. Sorry, i.e. that's the actual prison. A CC is jail. That's your correctional center. But that CI prison, other one jail. What is CCC? Three C's. That is the Colorado Community Corrections Department. They also add their 2 cents when it comes to anyone who may eventually, get released on parole or probation. In this case, not so much. They're not, they don't really have a job in this part. OJC is the Objective Jail Classification. Again, that's the classification that they do to determine where they're going to send the inmate. The NIC is the National Institute of Corrections. And the CDOC is the Colorado Department of Correction. Right. So, in the risk assessment in the pre-sentencing report, what do they go over again? They go over gang affiliation, hate, religion, mental health needs, and programs that he may need. That's all in there. Yeah, the DA said that one person would determine it. It's actually a lot of people giving that one person the information, because one person couldn't do all this by themselves. It would be impossible to do it. There are a total of 11 intake classification centers in the state of Colorado. I highly doubt that one person jumps around from all 11 every single day doing it. So the next question I got the most of, and I'm going to end on that one, is when will he actually be transferred from the county jail to the prison? It's a good question. I don't know, and nobody knows. The only people that know are those who, very few within the actual the CDOC, the Colorado Department of Corrections. They do not release that information when he will actually be transported, because it's under secrecy. They have their own planes, buses, and vans and cars that they use to transport prisoners from point A to point B, and they don't tell people, who's on what and when they're leaving, or on purpose, because they don't want someone to hijack or stop a caravan and their buddies to all jump on and have a shootout with the corrections department to try to get their friend back, things like that. And so we're never going to see a picture of him rolling by in a van, at night. And that's the other thing, is they transport these prisoners a lot of the time at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and they may send out multiple dummy vehicles, or one bus and 3 vans, and and they do it on purpose to mix people up so they don't know who's on what vehicle. So that is in a nutshell. If you have any additional questions, please comment on this video and this video only, and I will try to answer them on the 19th, when and the video that I will do after he is actually sentenced. But did you know that I have a Teespring store? I do. I'm terrible at self-promoting my own business and my own ventures, but I do. I've had one since 2007. And in my Teespring store, you can buy anything from mugs, hats, scarves, throw blankets, pillows, leggings, socks, t-shirts, hats, coffee mugs. I have it all. Some of the items that are in my store are limited edition. In the description below, you will find a live link where you can click on and go and check out the items in my store. And all of it's fan based material. And I'd appreciate if you go check it out. Makes great holiday gift items. Standard shipping is less than $6, right around there, and express shipping is offered on every single item in the United States. But thanks again.